Now, I was going to take the card from the top.
Okay.
So what we do at the start of this podcast now is we've got this little game called My Ex that just has a whole bunch of questions that we can ask, and it's a really good way that we don't have to do our homework and think of, and plus there's such creative questions. I was going to take the card on the top, but I've decided last minute I'm going to cut the deck and take something from the middle and see what happens.
Theatre of the mind, everybody. Believe us.
My ex's idea of a good date night was...
stock standard. Take the pretty girl out for a lime and vodka soda and a nice Italian restaurant. Your pizza. Have a margarita. Make sure you get up high because you have to see the city lights at night, right?
Yeah.
But it's so pretty.
Was it Instagrammable?
Yeah, I'm sure. But that's your stock standard answer for me.
My ex's idea of a good date night was anything that didn't cost very much money.
That's
and
okay.
I know
That's okay.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, but to the point where I say, hey, let's go out on a date, and they were like, let's stay in and do takeaway, which is great. I love that date, but not that date only and that date forever.
Absolutely.
And only that date, no more dates.
I think
that's all the dates you
can
get.
You can be penny pinching and use coupons on every now and then for a date, but every now and then you got to put on the nice shirt and the jacket, and some pants, and take her out to the nice place.
And I'm pretty sure I've told this story. Gosh, we've been going for so long. I'm pretty sure I've told this story.
Who knows? Who cares?
But it got to the point where I wanted to go out and do stuff, and he would shame me about using my money, so I would buy gift cards and pretend I got given them at work so that we could go out on a date for, in inverted commas, free.
Which is it's a cute workaround from you, but
that
unnecessary.
I should not have had to do because it was my money. It was my money. Anyway, that's...
And the beach. I'll throw in the beach as well.
I love a good beach date,
yes, everyone likes looking at the water.
I find water restorative. Like it's not even that it's romantic or whatever. It's just whenever I'm feeling really anxious, if I honestly just go and sit by water, somehow things are 10% better. I don't know how it works. I don't know science. Like, I'm telling you, it works.
There you go. Well, thank you, little card, for your little prompt there. The cards will go away as we barrel into another episode of Ghosts of Boyfriends Past. This week, we have a guest.
Well, first of all, you're Tom Harris and I'm Liz Best.
They don't care.
They do. This could be their first episode, and we have to treat everybody as if they're brand new and we're creating the magic for the first time,
How
Tom.
lucky of you if it is your first episode. Yes, Ghosts of Boyfriends Past. The show where we attempt to get a guest on to hear their story. That's the brief.
Yep. It can be a good story. It can be a sad story. Yes. It can be a funny story. It can be a weird story. It can be a tragedy. It can be fucking ridiculous.
And whilst sometimes we will point and laugh and make fun of along the way, the intent is to wrap up at the end with what did we learn. We're here as a more of a kumbaya sort of system rather than a point and laugh.
So today our guest is a returning guest. We have Shane Fell.
Thank you very much, Liz.
Thank you so much for coming back, Shane. What was your ex's idea of a good date?
So my ex's idea, if I'm just using my most recent
whichever ex has the best answer to that question.
Honestly, it was, from memory, it was often doing something new, something that we hadn't done, but like going to a new restaurant or something.
I like that.
Yeah. Which was good, but there was a bit of a sense that like I was sort of trying to keep up with her and like always trying to find something new.
You've got to constantly one up. And do the bigger, better, newer. No, we've done that. We've done that before. It's got to be new. Okay, well, we're jumping out of a fucking plane today.
Oh, we did. We didn't get to that stage, unfortunately.
Did you almost?
Oh, I wish. But eventually we did sort of like...
rein it back in.
Yeah, rein it back in. And funnily enough, the sort of last... date that we had was just us watching the Disney Plus recording of Hamilton together over lunch, and that was the day that we broke up. So.
Hamilton, you got a lot to answer for.
Look, it's not that bad. I don't. The singing exposition at the end. Get on with it. Sorry.
You should have given me time. I would have written a song.
Now. We've got the rules. We'll go through the rules just because the lawyer's telling me that I have to. The rules are have a pseudonym for whoever you're talking about. Number 2 is if you're an armchair Columbo and you think you figure out who Shane's talking about, don't be a dick and dox them, because that's not what we're about. We're not about exposing people's behaviour. We're about what we can learn. And number 3, no threats on mic.
Yes,
off
please, my
mic,
friend.
so fine.
Yeah,
yes.
In your own time, please.
Yeah.
Go wild.
Sure.
So you mentioned off air that we had a couple of little stories that are sort of linked thematically, sort of.
Yeah, so what kind of sparked this thought and this whole sort of train of the idea was that, funnily enough, there's been a lot of talk about people breaking off toxic relationships because of the revelations that Barbie has given out.
Yes. Apparently.
And I'm a big fan of that which can be ended by the Barbie movie should be ended by the Barbie movie.
Oh,
and I'm baffled beyond all belief how a film about a Barbie doll is so controversial.
It's
It
about
baffles
more
me.
than Barbie,
yes, I know,
Dom.
but still, how can you? Oh my God.
Yeah, and yet Oppenheimer, that's about, literal atomic bombs literally killing people. That's not the controversial movie. It's Barbie.
Oh, no, that's the historical biopic. That's a safe bet. Gosh.
Okay, so yes, Barbie, the revelations.
Yes. So to cut a long story short, I went to see Barbie with a friend a few weeks ago. And basically, there's a lot in Barbie that is not just, I feel, talking about how hard it is to be a woman in today's culture, but also just how hard it is to be a human being in today's society. Like there's that whole speech that America Ferrera has sort of around the 2/3 into the film. And someone said to me, it's like, well, those are all issues that are faced by women, but a lot of them are faced by men as well, in terms of like certain image and the aspects that they have to, expectations that they have to live up to.
I think she says something like, you have to be thin, but you have to not say that you want to be thin. You have to say that you want to be healthy, but you still have to be thin. Like body image expectations are on all of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you ever wondered how Chris Hemsworth or Henry Cavill did those shirtless pec scenes in their films, severe dehydration, that's how.
It's unhealthy.
Yeah. So anyway, so we both, my friend and I, we both walked out of that movie sort of having, like, both going, wow, I did not expect it to blow my mind in the way that it did. And it kind of got us talking about, naturally, about the Kens.
Yes.
And the Kens are sort of, if you haven't seen it, the Kens are sort of second-class citizens in Barbie world.
If you don't want to hear what happens in Barbie or anything about Barbie, maybe just either skip forward like 2-3 minutes or skip this episode. Tom's out. Right. Tom's gone.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Yet.
Well,
But
basically, I think the whole thing is that the Kens are treated the way that women tend to be treated in the patriarchy, correctly?
Yeah. There's meant to be a bit of a role reversal there, but I feel that there is also a bit of a play on society. Well, sort of the masculine idea that that men are the chasers and women are the prizes, in the sense that it's said that Ken doesn't have a good day unless Barbie looks at him.
Yeah.
And I feel like men have that sort of desire for validation, even if though they might not say it, they might not realize it. But my friend said to me that when they were growing up, all of the adult male voices that they had, the father figures and uncles and stuff, were basically saying, look, if a girl gives you the time of day, just be grateful. Don't ask questions. Just take the win.
Okay.
Yeah. And
not the greatest of advice.
no, certainly not.
That's the point. Yes.
And I mean, I never got that in my youth. I never got that explicitly, but the culture and sort of the inference was certainly there.
No, I'll piggyback you there because I completely understand. I didn't directly ever hear that from my father, but I can understand feeling that energy from elsewhere, or yes, how things have sometimes phrased. I can understand that. I'll jump in.
Yeah, and that basically, as a man, you and women are the prize. You are not the prize. You are not value. Yes. You only have value if a woman decides you have value. And I'm sure it's the same when the shoe's on the other foot as well. And that has that experience. Tripping over my own tongue here. Anyway, so that kind of got me thinking about my first relationship, and that's how I got into my first relationship, because heck, she was giving me the time of day.
Therefore, that's the only box
Yeah,
that needs to be ticked.
Yeah, and that was the next 4 years of my life of utter chaos.
Right.
So, but my story begins actually after that whole thing had wrapped up, at that whole relationship. That's another whole episode, guys.
Okay, we'll mark it down for next time.
So, okay, this is a second date story, and I remember your rule about pseudonyms. Rather fortunately, I have actually forgotten the name
Great.
of this
Fantastic.
But
So we'll make up a name or just say her.
yes, I do have a name which I refer to as in my mind, but I will say it at the end, because that's when it will make sense.
Okay.
So, long story short, she and I were. It's somewhere in Manly, some pub in Manly, because she lived close out there. We're doing lunch on a Sunday, and there's a pool table nearby. Now, I like pool. I grew up in a house with a pool table. I'm not that great at it, but I think it's fun, and she was talking about how good she was at pool. So,
Okay.
And so I'm like, well, would you like a game? And she's like, oh yeah, no, I'm the hot shit. Like, not even like ironically bragging, just bragging.
Just straight out, not even a
Okay,
humble
yep.
brag. Just like I'm actually the best at this game. So.
Yeah, which is a bit.
I don't mind that every so often. If someone says, no, I'm actually going to fucking kick your ass at this, I'm properly good.
If they can back it up.
Yes.
Or
Oh, yes, you have
if
to
they
back
can
it up.
humorously not back it up.
And there was the rub. So she did not, in fact, back it up. What proceeded to happen instead was that I played a fairly decent game. She played a rather poor game. When I say poor game, she was like cursing when she missed a shot, or swearing when she,
Oh no.
stomping her little feet, throwing these, not like, everyone turning in the pub to look at us temper tantrums, but definitely like just angry vibes.
Because she's probably humiliated at the fact that she just totally, pumped up her own
Some of that, and
skills.
some people, when they play a sport or compete,
bad
they play
sports.
themselves.
Yeah.
They do bad things, so they punish you. Like,
I mean, I do that too, but internally, Tom.
That's
I
right.
keep it inside.
Yes, it was, but not. This isn't a brag, but I did actually win, and that just
This isn't a brag, but I'm not.
It's
Just so you know, I won.
Someone has to.
that just soured her for the rest of the
Oh, that's
rest of the
disappointing.
date, and she was like, yeah, whatever.
But it's a game. I think everyone
yeah.
needs to remember that unless you're like $1 million sports people where like all of these sponsorships and, like $1 million payday is actually going, like it's a game.
Yep.
It's a game.
Yep. Some people hate losing. It just hurts to lose. Some
Yeah.
people hate it. I get it. I sympathize, but yes, it is just a game. Calm down. When you're playing fucking, the amount of people in my soccer playing career, I'll play like a Tuesday night social game, and the tackles, and they're just all in. It's like, calm down. We're here to fucking
Tuesday
socialize.
night.
Like, it's not the World Cup final. Relax.
Especially if you're on a date, like surely there's at least some part of you that's going,
Yeah,
I should be
sure.
putting my best foot forward here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like don't hide your true self, but also don't make someone feel actively uncomfortable to be around you.
and boy, was I uncomfortable.
How did that go after that?
Basically, it didn't last so long afterwards, because I was reading the room, and so I said, well. She said, oh, yeah, I got to get home. I was like, okay, can I offer you a lift? She goes, oh, yeah, no, I guess. She didn't live too far. As I said, she was like a local. We get there, like, I stop the car. And I notice there's like someone inside the house. I'm like, oh, your roommate? It's like, oh, no, my ex. She had not mentioned that up until this. And I understand that, like, sometimes, especially
happens.
breaking off from a long relationship, you might still be living together. That's fine. But, like, at no point during the last 2 dates had she so much as mentioned.
Yeah, this is a second date, remember, people. And when you don't mention that you live with your ex and then you take the person that you're on the date, like you allow them to be in the, that's just a weird, awkward vibe.
Uncomfortable.
Yeah, so as I say, I cannot remember her name. It was at least 8 years ago, but in my mind, she's always been the billiards brat. There's your episode title.
They're done. Absolutely done.
Yep.
So you drop her off, and then it's just never again from
Yes.
there, and that's it.
So yes, as I said, that was 8 years ago, and what kind of that told me was that there were a few kind of red flags in the first date, But I was like, well, you know, I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. And even though we're not vibing, I'll just, you know, I'll stick it in there. You know,
wait, no.
She's
that is a really bad turn of phrase. Do not say I'll stick it in there.
Phrasing.
Oh, that's YTP material right there.
Whoa.
Whiz.
I will
stick with it.
Stick with it.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Sorry.
Anyway.
We can get that chopped out, can't we, Zane?
No, absolutely not. That
could.
is staying in
We could.
so much.
One has the potential.
I'm going to own it.
And now we're going to call it Shane sticking
No,
it
we
in
can't
there.
do that. So you're sticking it, you tried to stick it out, right?
And then shake it all about.
And then in. No, come on. This is not on class.
But I couldn't turn it all around.
Yes.
But that's what it's all about, Shane.
Oh, my God. When I got up at the beginning of this episode and walk out the room, I fucking should have. They're giggling in this. Come on, class.
Yep. Okay, Mr. Harris.
All right. It's all good. So
red flags on first date, but you decided to ignore them, give them the benefit of the doubt, and still go on a second date.
And I wish I could remember what those were, but honestly, the second date kind of put those all into pale by comparison. It was just like, wow, this is just an experience.
Wow.
And all this is going through my mind. Literally, this past weekend just gone, where I've gone on another. This is a first date, mind you. With this person.
So this is a new story.
Yes, a new story. As I said, this one's very recent. It's Jessie, we'll call her.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a Hinge thing, and I was chatting with Jessie on Hinge, and like, okay, she seemed pretty cool, but first, like, a couple of things were a bit off. Now, I know that it's a little bit elitist and maybe a little bit classist to judge someone on one's spelling and grammar, but
yeah, look, I know that it's classist, but as an editor, it is important to me. So I will give someone the benefit of the doubt for a little while, but there will be a tiny little part of me that goes, actually, this is something that's important to me.
Dump them!
Are you saying dump me, Zane? How dare you?
Dump the bad speller, surely.
I don't.
But it's like, I could be friends with someone who was a bad speller, but I couldn't be a partner to someone who
I could if their other qualities were enough to make up for that. But if it's something that I value and they're like, I don't fucking give a shit.
And I should preface that it's not as much the bad spelling and grammar in itself. It's more the fact that they don't care.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter to them. And
or when they actively use it just to be like ironic or cool. No, thank you.
and should also, for example, she went to use the phrase "work in progress," but instead she said "working progress."
Oh, right.
Yeah, okay.
That's a moot point.
Yeah, exactly. So all of this has gone through my mind, and so I was asking her out for coffee on a Sunday morning, and initially she wasn't free on the weekend, and then suddenly she was.
Okay.
And she said I didn't ask. She explicitly said this to me unprompted. So, well, I was talking with this other guy and we were vibing, but then he said something or did something that just made me go, ugh. And so I cancelled that date, and so now I'm free. So straight away, I'm the second choice, and she's just said it. Not even
like half of me's like, okay, cool, you're not exclusive, you can talk about it, but that just
there's not when you're just a person and you're dating people out in the wild, you're allowed to date more than one, see other people for dates at the same time, but don't weaponize that, like, well, I turned down a date with someone.
He didn't impress me, so we're on to player number 2.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, and it does get worse.
Oh, good. So
great.
Oh, great.
So I again wanted to give the benefit of the doubt and say, maybe she just has poor social skills.
Yeah,
and I said, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that." And she replied with, "What are you sorry for? It means you get a date."
Oh,
you can't win, right?
No. There was a nice little bit of empathy, but also she's treating it like it's a game show and you're the runner-up prize. I don't like that. It does not make me feel nice.
Or that she's the prize.
Yeah.
How lucky that you. Why are you complaining? You get a date with me.
You win now. Yeah.
Yep. So I said earlier about men being the chasers, women being the prize. She's basically putting herself in that position. And so I'm
like, there's self-esteem and then there's arrogance, right?
And all this I did end up going on the date. Needless to say, didn't go well. So and it got to that point where and honestly, she was a lot like well spoken in person than her text would have led me to believe. But yeah, it was just that's the other thing that I didn't dress up super stylish or super posh or anything like that. But I just had one of my first date outfits, which I feel is like, obviously it's putting in an effort,
like smart cash.
Yeah, smart cash,
without being like business casual, but not slack casual. Like
exactly.
Casual.
Yeah, some like neatly ironed chinos.
The fact that you ironed your pants at all, that's effort. There we go. I'm sorry, that's a tick in my book.
But a chino and a button-up shirt on a first date, something like you're in Happy Town. That's fine.
Yeah, because I felt I was tossing up with jeans. I was like, jeans a bit too casual. Clearly I'll say her outfit was not of a bit where I thought that she was like trying to dress up or trying to.
So she'd put in zero effort.
Yeah, like I almost like track pants, I think, with like black and green checks on.
Where were you?
It was a cafe in Tivoli. It wasn't like super upmarket, but it was, nice.
Okay. So I'm going to give that like a out of 5 faux pas, probably like a 1 or 2, just because like
if
I
you
want
went on a
to
date
be
and a man rocked up in
comfy.
but would you be like, yeah, that's fine if a guy rocked up in essentially tracksuit
I've
tracksuit
had that
pants?
happen before.
Is that okay? Like,
and I happen to like men in grey sweatpants. Look, I would be a little bit sad at non-effort making, but that wouldn't be the deal breaker unless it was combined with also being a runner-up prize on a date.
Yeah, that was just the whole vibe I was getting, and the only
it feels to me like she just was like, oh well, I've got to do something today, and I want,
Honestly, that was the vibe I was getting. The only good thing about her outfit was that she was wearing a t-shirt that had Amsterdam on it because she had travelled there, and that was one thing we could conversate about.
So you're sitting there on this date going, and are you consciously going, this isn't a good time,
exactly,
this isn't working?
And it definitely got to that point at the end where it's like you feel like you've just run out of things to talk about.
Oh, that's so awkward. I've had that happen before, and the person literally said to me, I'm sorry, I wasn't what you were expecting, because there was a lull in the conversation. I'm like, oh, shit. I don't know what to say to that.
Yeah, I don't know what to say to that. I don't think you should apologize for not being what someone would just say, well, this didn't work, but I don't think you have to apologize.
No, like never. Like if I'm ever on a date with you, dear reader, never apologize for not being my cup of tea, because you're absolutely somebody else's, and that's okay.
And those of you who aren't interested in dating Liz, what are you doing with your lives? Her last name is Best. You could marry this and take her last name and be Mr. Best. What are you doing? Send your dating resumes to ghostofboyfriendsfast@gmail.com.
Are there any gentlemen out there called The Only?
Yeah, forget it.
Do you know, for ages I was like, I want to marry Eddie Perfect just so that our surname can be Best Perfect or Perfect Best. Eddie.
Funny, that kind of ties back to where I kind of started off with, is that, definitely knowing, and this I think counts for men, but also counts for anybody, is that just knowing your own value and not thinking of yourself as just feeling like you have worth in yourself and saying, you know what, I deserve someone who I feel I'm compatible with. I don't have to settle for just someone who is paying me attention.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. That's one of my top lessons from that story, is that if you would like to be the type of person that says yes and when someone asks you out on a date, it's okay to not continue that just because you don't vibe. You don't need to continue on with that just because someone is showing you attention and someone is better than no one. Because as someone who has dated someone who was terrible before, I can tell you that sometimes no one is so much better than someone, everybody. So much better. Mm-hmm. And I also think that if you're one of those people who thinks I am a fucking prize, I'm going to tell you, you are, but also the person you're going on a date with might also be a fucking prize.
Yes.
You are not the only prize in the situation. I think that it's one thing to have self-esteem, but like I read stories when we're looking for stories for our episodes. I read stories about people on Reddit who are like, well, I'm not going on a date unless you pay for me because I deserve it and I'm a princess and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, you are a princess, but you are owed nothing.
That's right.
You earn something. You are owed nothing. And so I think, yes, have self-esteem, but don't then make that self-esteem let you step on the person that you're going out with.
Because you might not be as good of a pool player as you think you are.
Exactly. Take that, billiards brat.
I wonder how good she actually was, or whether she was properly
Maybe
good and had
she'd
a poor
only
night.
played with people who either let her win or like family members who were really awful, like garbage.
Oh, now that's a theory.
Yeah, like maybe I don't know. Tom, what have you learnt?
I had a really good one a minute ago, and it's just gone. Just gone. I'm not above admitting to that.
Yeah.
Just be nice to everyone.
Just be kind. Just be good.
What do you want from me?
Don't be a garbage human. Respect everybody.
Yeah,
and
that's pretty much it.
The Barbie movie's great. That's what I've learned.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Look, thank you so much for coming and telling those stories, Shane. It is always wonderful to have repeat guests feel like they want to trust us with new stories.
I enjoy Shane's method of storytelling. It's a unique sort of. You're very methodical, very very careful, but it's also entertaining. It's good storytelling.
Very good.
I like it.
It's because I tell these stories a lot anecdotally, so they're a wee bit rehearsed.
That's okay.
Yes, that's fine.
That's the story we want. We want when you're having beers with friends or wine with friends or cheese with friends or like anything with friends, we want the story that you tell
Pokemon Stadium
at
with
parties.
friends.
Yeah. Give us a plug for your band again, my friend.
Thank you, Liz. So I am associated with a collective called Shakespeare and the Skeleton Gang. We're a horror blues quintet, local to Brisbane. I'm also tangentially associated with a comedy punk outfit called Canny and Hall. We're gigging intermittently. We share some members as well. They have an EP live on Spotify now. And Shakespeare and the Skeleton Gang have their album live on all good streaming services.
Fabulous. Give it a stream. Put it on in the background, even if you don't want to listen to it. Just stream.
Halloween is coming up.
Hard spooky season coming up, so absolutely get into that. We will have links in the show notes once again for all of those band details for you. In the meantime, if you have any stories that you would like to tell us about first or second dates gone wrong, please get onto us at ghostofboyfriendspast@gmail.com. Check your junk mail, because if you have written to us, I guarantee that I've replied to you, and sometimes we get junked because I'm pretty sure we were sabotaged by someone's ex-boyfriend one time.
Yes,
They signed us up to
investigation continues.
spam. They honestly, like, it's ever since we started getting random newsletters in the name of Lawson, a lot of things get junked. So please check your junk mail from us. I don't know why it happens, but if you did it, karma is going to get you. In the meantime, I've been Liz Best here with Tom Harris.
Hello.
And just make sure you're nice to people on dates. No, my glasses are coming off with the headphones.
Oh, no.